Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm Jim Goddard. John, what's caught your eye this week for Discovery Watch?
Well, the first company that I want to talk about today is Uravan Minerals, Inc. UVN trades on the venture exchange around somewhere in the 30-35 cent range. This is a stock I personally own, and it is a spec value hunter recommendation, has been such for a long time. This company has developed an innovative approach to searching for uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin that are quite deep, up to 1,000, 1,200 meters deep. And the trick they use is they gather clay samples at the surface and analyze them for radiogenic lead isotopes, the decay products from uranium. And the theory here is that in the Athabasca Basin, microbes manage to tunnel all the way down 1,000 meters in search of these sulfide systems. And of course, uranium deposits are all associated with sulfide systems. And then they literally dine on these deposits. And in the process, through their methane gas exhalations, they create a transport medium that picks up individual elements from the deposit, and they migrate through the column of sandstone that sits on top of these deposits in the basin, sticking to the clay particles. And this is really important because when you get down to depths beyond 600-800 meters, the conventional method in the Athabasca Basin, geophysical surveys, they have to operate without any surface geochem in terms of alteration that's visible at the surface. And this has made it very expensive to find new deposits in the Athabasca Basin. The shallower ones have all been picked off with geophysics and studying the surface geology. And this company is in the process of demonstrating that we can see deposits, very deep deposits, world-class deposits worth billions, by combining geochemical surveys of this nature with conventional geophysical surveys. And the project that has management currently very excited is the 100% Outer Ring project, where they have developed the ORX target, probably about 800 meters deep, with a classic electromagnetic conductor associated with it, and a very substantial surface geochem anomaly that suggests a scale similar to the world-class MacArthur River system.
Why are uranium prices at a 10-year low, even though many have been calling for a renewed uranium bull market?
Well, this is the cloud that's hanging over the uranium sector. Pundits have been calling for uranium to go back to $60, $100 range. It hit $140 during the uranium bubble in the last decade. All of this was premised on all these new reactors that China is building that are gradually coming on stream over the next decade. But then in 2011 we had Fukushima, and the Japanese reactors still have not come on stream. Germany made a decision to pull the plug on its nuclear energy industry. Kazakhstan since 2008 has displaced Canada as the world's biggest producer. They now produce 41% of global supply compared to 16% for Canada from their ISL operation, in situ leach. They don't have to particularly worry about the environment because this is, the Kazakhstan. So they can continue to produce while other parts of the world are shutting down their operations. Uranium's now at $25 a pound, which is quite low, and because it's low and because demand is not there, everybody's worried about the Japanese utilities finally permanently pulling the plug on their nuclear energy and then unloading their stockpiles into the market. We've got this standoff between utilities and the producers. The utilities don't want to do long-term prices. Long-term prices are down to $40 a pound. So there is this pall over the uranium sector, but all of this will get resolved over the next 3 to 4 years. It takes 6 to 10 years to put a new uranium discovery in the Athabasca Basin into production. There will be long-term demand as all these Chinese reactors come on stream. The Japanese utility stockpiles, if necessary, will be absorbed by the market. Kazakhstan will eventually run into a limit in terms of its ability to expand. So the Athabasca Basin is the place where companies should be focusing now to look for world-class, high-grade deposits, similar to what NextGen has discovered at its Arrow project, which is now the most prominent discovery play in the basin with about a $600 million market cap.
Is there any evidence that Uravan's radiogenic lead isotope geochemical method works?
Well, the company has done case studies on the Centennial deposit owned by Cameco, which clearly showed that there is a geochemical anomaly at surface, slightly offset from the deposit's location. And this deposit, it was not found with the traditional geophysical targeting. It turned out to be offset from the conductors. Cameco had to drill 18 holes, just sort of guessing, in the area before they finally nicked a higher grade uranium mineralization. And from then on, they were able to follow it and delineate that deposit. Uravan also did a study on the Cigar Lake deposit on the western half, and once again, a geochemical radiogenic lead isotope anomaly showed up on surface, and an industry consortium and a university group, CMEC, is doing a footprint study on the McArthur River deposit, and this is all part of an idea of a project to find ways of using peripheral information to track down world-class deposits, and they have applied Uravan's method on that. And the rumblings I'm hearing through backdoor channels is that, yes, McArthur River also lights up as a geochemical target in close proximity to the actual location. However, nobody believes a method until you find a brand new deposit using this method that you would not otherwise have found. So in a sense, there is evidence, but it requires a discovery drill hole. And that's why this ORX project, if they drill in there and nick into the system and then vector in with 3 to 6 holes, it will revolutionize how exploration gets done in the Athabasca Basin.
I understand that CanAlaska is also involved in diamond exploration in the Athabasca Basin.
Yes, CanAlaska Uranium is traditionally a uranium explorer in the Athabasca Basin, and with their Asian partners, they spent over $50-60 million in the past decade using primarily geophysical surveys to track down uranium targets. In fact, Cameco right now is probably wrapping up a drill program on the West McArthur uranium deposit or project, where they're projecting the C10 conductor that hosts their or is associated with their Fox Lake deposit in a hope of finding additional mineralization on CanAlaska's ground. However, one of the things CanAlaska did during the past couple years, while it was waiting for this uranium bear market to end, was they pulled this government geophysical survey that had been done on 400-meter spacing and went through it. And it was in the western part of the Athabasca Basin, just south of Athabasca Lake. And this is a place nobody explores for uranium because the unconformity is very, very deep. It's way too deep. It's like you have to do 2,000-3,000 meter drill holes to hit the unconformity where these deposits usually sit. And they noticed all these magnetic anomalies and studied them and went in there and staked about 75 of them, and on the premise that the only thing that can explain these discontinuities within the relatively boring sandstone is an intrusion. And the only kind of intrusion that's plausible is some sort of kimberlite, and it sits on top of the Ray craton, which is a classic Archean craton that does have the capacity to have a diamond stability field. And this attracted De Beers earlier this year, who can earn a majority interest in the project. The first stage is go to 70%. De Beers has moved very aggressively. They've gone into the field and done more detailed geophysical surveys on 100-meter spacing, and they've come up with 85 targets with about 250 smaller discrete targets. And even before they got whatever kimberlite indicator mineral samples that they collected and shipped off to South Africa back, they have gone in there and are now in the midst of drilling some of the land-accessible targets. Now, the initial news has been not encouraging. The first few targets that they tested in the western part of the project have delivered simply concentrations of magnetic minerals and depressions within the country rock, and so those targets clearly are not very interesting. But the real test will come in January when the ground is frozen, when they go after much bigger targets that are the high priority. This is like probably the most interesting new diamond exploration play in Canada, and Canalaska is currently a bottom fish pick, or was a bottom fish pick. It's no longer trading at the 15 cents where we originally recommended it.
What's the potential for an area play if De Beers confirms the presence of a diamond-bearing kimberlite field?
Well, all the area around this has already been staked. Some of it was already owned for uranium potential, but once De Beers came in there and did this deal and surprised everybody that De Beers was taking this very seriously, everything has been staked. And the company that probably will dominate the area play is Fiordland Explorations. And the management of Fiordland has some experience with diamond plays. They watched the whole Ikadi Diavik play in Lac de Gras evolve during the early 90s. And they said, 400-meter spacing from government data, boy, that's a lot of pipes that will not see. So they staked all the surrounding ground because Canalaska took the approach, well, we can see these targets, everything else seems blank around them. We're going to put postage stamps on these targets in order to save money on the staking costs. But now that we're starting to see that some of these targets are simply magnetic mineral deposits, which would show up prominently, but a kimberlite might not have such a distinctive feature. If it is the case that there is a diamondiferous kimberlite field here, and its distribution is across this whole area, and De Beers starts confirming it, Fiordland Exploration is going to come into the limelight. So that's our third Discovery Watch company. It's derivative of the Canalaska diamond play, but it's one because they are the substantial landowner. That is where the area play spin-off will flow if Canalaska and De Beers deliver diamondiferous kimberlites over the next 6 months. And they are in the midst of raising $1 million at 10 cents right now so that they can get on track and do their own geophysical surveys over the next 6 months.
Last week you featured Nevada Exploration Incorporated as a Discovery Watch candidate based on its groundwater sampling strategy and the Southgrass Valley project. Has anything else in Nevada caught your attention?
Well, last week we got a news release from New Legacy Gold Corp, which has the Iceberg project, which is southeast of the Cortez Hills and Gold Rush pipeline system that Barrick controls, with Cortez Hills and pipeline already in operation and over 50 million ounces identified. New Legacy Gold originally optioned the Iceberg project 4 years ago or so from Barrick on the deal to earn 70%. And then, of course, the deal was that Barrick could back in for 70% and reduce them to 30%. And their juiciest target was under the gravels, deep under the gravels in the basin, and similar to the types of targets that Nevada Exploration Inc. is chasing. They knew they could not blow their brains out probing at that, doing the high-risk shots, so they focused on the shallower oxide system that had been identified before and have established, they haven't yet published a resource, but they have a system of fairly low-grade, potentially open-pittable oxide gold mineralization. But what they have done now is gone after the avocado target, which is a big IP anomaly. And an IP anomaly is normally associated with sulfides. And sulfides are associated, can be associated with your target metal gold. It can also be just plain pyrite. And in this case, the hole they reported last week, it was not ore grade. It was deep, 400 meters deep, but it was over 150 meters of 0.25 gram per ton gold, and it was accompanied with all the toxics associated with a classic Carlin-type system. So now we have this anomaly, this sulfide target. We know it is a big cloud of gold smoke. Now there is impetus to start probing this to look for the traps where much higher grade gold strike, Port Betsy Post type of grades are concentrated. So this project we should be watching very carefully now. Company does have 300 million shares out, but earlier this year, after Barrick declined to back in for 70%, they actually sold the remaining 30% to New Legacy for 32 million shares. The company has attracted substantial shareholders, Tocqueville, Oceana Gold, which has a strong interest in Nevada gold projects. It is a significant shareholder, as is Waterton, which has made a specialty out of acquiring Nevada gold systems. So this is a project which has been elevated to not just chasing some low-grade oxide system, but having a potential repeat of a gold rush or maybe even Cortez Hills in its sights.
In August, you recommended Serengeti Resources Incorporated, based in part on a deep IP anomaly in its Quantica project in BC. What's new there?
They have now completed 3 holes on that project and are awaiting assays. The Quantica project generated a discovery in 2007. It's called the Central Zone, and this is a supergene enriched system of gold and copper, much higher grades than normal. Most of the rich part is too deep to be open pit mined. The company did do a preliminary economic assessment in 2013, which basically showed that even combining it with the low-grade South deposit, this project just isn't good enough at the metal prices that we ended up with. And so the stock sank into the pennies, and the company wasn't sure what it was going to do. But about a year and a half ago, they attracted the attention of Daewoo, which is a subsidiary of POSCO, the Korean steel maker, who said, this is an interesting project. It's in an area where there's potential new discovery. Maybe this system isn't big enough by itself to support a standalone operation, but maybe it can become a central milling facility that is fed ore from other projects, deposits to be discovered in that general area. And so they ended up doing a deal where they can earn only 35% by spending about $8.2 million over 3 years, with about $1.4 million in the first year. They've now spent that $1.4 million with this program, and this program involved 3 holes. One targeted this deep IP anomaly. It stretches 1,000 meters north of the known zone, which is a bit of a bonus for them. It is quite likely a sulfide system. In fact, the way the company reported it, looks like they have intersected sulfides, probably not chalcopyrite, the copper mineral that tells you, it's going to be copper gold enriched, just like the Central Zone to the south. We'll have to wait to see the assays on it. This could be a situation where they need to vector in on where exactly the copper gold did end up. But the other 2 holes were designed to test the northern part of the known deposit to see how much deeper it goes, and apparently they stopped that hole in ore and plan to deepen that next year. And then they drilled another hole at an angle that had never been drilled before, because the Koreans, when they looked at all this, sort of came up, the fabric of this stuff is oriented in such a manner that maybe all the historical drilling may have underestimated the gold-copper content of this system. So if they can demonstrate that the known deposit has a richer grade, then it's possible that this could turn into a standalone underground operation. And it definitely has some optionality value because, gold, copper is pretty much at the low for the long term. It can only rise from its current 210 a pound level. And gold, of course, has the potential to end up significantly higher, even in real price terms.
If the IP anomaly turns out to be just fool's gold, would you treat the Central Zone as a gold or copper optionality play?
My inclination is to treat this as a gold optionality play. I'm not super optimistic about copper doing anything substantial on the upside in the near to medium term, but I can see gold gradually grinding up to $1,800, $2,000 in real price terms, and I think the gold component has been understated in this system. So if gold does continue onwards towards $1,800 to $2,000 over the next few years, that will have a dramatic impact on the value of this system. Even if all these hypotheses that the Koreans and David Moore are chasing turn out to be demonstrated false, this definitely has a gold optionality potential to it.
John, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Jim, thank you very much.
I'm Jim Goddard. We've been chatting with John Kaiser, founder of KaiserResearch.com. If you have any questions for John, you can email him at jkaiser@KaiserResearch.com.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.